Welcome back to Game 3 here in the Ting Open. It's the finals of the North American first group. And spawning here on the top right side is going to be the Orange Protoss on his last life. Once again, it's HuK. But this is where he seems to thrive. The stress and the pressure working against him.
In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, he is MaSa, and he seems to have figured out HuK.
Yeah. Quick shout out, by the way, to... Oh, I'm going to say this name. Yeah, you know who I mean. Basilide says, "Hey, Rifkin and Zombie in chat. Happy to report I just activated my new phone on Ting. I hope you did it through Base Trade TV so that we get credit for it, man, because for those who don't know, if we can get 40 people using Ting before the end of March when this tournament concludes, they will give us another $5,000 tournament later on down the line." But really quick, again, speaking on that note, bttv.ting.com. You can sign up for $25 in credit. We've had a couple people actually sign up without going through the link, so it actually doesn't credit us at all, and all you're doing is giving business to Ting, which is good. But if you guys forgot to sign up, if you didn't get your credit, you can actually have it applied afterwards. We learned this because someone sent a message to us about this last night, and I contacted Jesse, and before the cast today, not only did he go and make sure that we got credit for it so that it went towards the Base Trade TV tournament, they also retroactively applied the $25 in credit that they missed out on by not visiting the link. So if any of you guys are in that same situation, send us a message on Twitch so we can get you hooked up with $25 in credit.
Nice.
But
that's
going
really
on what you were saying, MaSa figuring out HuK, that is a really terrible feeling, I think, for any player once they realize, oh, this guy knows exactly what I'm doing. And HuK, more so than most, however, is a guy who's got multiple builds in his pocket, even though we've seen him only do, like, say, 2 things. Like, that's either macro or DT cheese. I know from watching his stream and from watching him play in other things we've cast, he's not a one-trick pony. So, going for the Robo this time. You get that Warp Prism out, maybe?
Yeah, okay, Warp Prism. Let's see if it leads into DTs, or just simply Adepts. This is the map that MaSa took the first game on, the first series of the day. He did that little Marine push, which he could do again. He's going to have 6 Marines off the 3 barracks from the command center first. Notably, not getting a Reaper, something that HuK could try and take advantage of, but was unable to, because, well, the Marines went in and killed his Dark Shrine. He is going to leave his base. You know, if this was a proxy Stargate, MaSa would just be crying all day long, but it's not, and he's guessing that it's not.
Well, how much does he leave, though? He's actually going to go out. Okay, so he might have just been checking to see if there's anything at the bottom of the ramp and gone back in, but he did this earlier, which is the only reason we can say otherwise, where he did just straight push across the map with 6 Marines and be like, "Hi, HuK, your doors are down, you got no units, what's up?"
He's really changing it up.
Disruptor drops are a really good choice, in my opinion, but we'll see if he can pull them off. Neeb made them look really good against Pults. And I will say that MaSa, well, very good. I'm not sure we'd classify him as Pult, because Pult has truly ascended recently to fighting versus Protoss, fighting versus Disruptors especially. Like, his splits looked almost like, do you have the AI cheater mode enabled?
Yeah. So, MaSa does not push up the ramp. I think last time he was able to catch the 1 or 2 Adepts on the low ground, and that's why he felt so confident pushing up. This game, I guess, doesn't get that same opportunity and just goes home. A little awkward, because he also didn't get a scout because of this, so he might want to scan. As Disruptor drop is going to be the last thing you expect. Even though it's been gaining popularity, you still have faced HuK 6 times now, so...
There's a really big important part of, like, what happens next, though, because does he go with the first Disruptor? Does he wait for 2? Does he come back for the second one? As silly as it is to just say, oh, it's simply Disruptor drops, there's actually 4 or 5 different ways to do this. And, you know, one of them, of course, more popular is just sitting around for that second Disruptor. He's not going to make a second Disruptor. He's just going. So what this already tells us from what HuK intends to do with this is not slaughter workers, but most importantly, keep MaSa at home and keep MaSa on the extreme defense. And unlike doing same tactics with Adepts, this is 2 units. You do not have to give away a whole army to do so. And what we have seen consistently out of HuK is, like, okay, he'll do the harass, and then when it's time for the attack, he has nothing at home. But, he can't afford to lose this.
Oh, Jesus.
Ooh.
Okay, well, that still takes away a lot, you know? The shields are gone, half the health is gone, now you know a Warp Prism is out, although, that, you know, what a surprise, right? You still don't know it's a Disruptor, and the Colossus follow-up is going to be surprised, too, but...
This is risky.
This is where...
Even with the 6 range pickup.
Yeah,
Just
it's just
isn't
not
working.
worth it. He's not finding any open places.
Yeah. Some folks have been asking about Ting Jesse again because of the whole kick your ass thing. It's cool to see Colossus, by the way. We'll talk on this in just a moment. But Jesse did take some challenges from stream yesterday and went 1-3, so he lost pretty miserably. But the only reason he stopped was because their camera died, which they were using to film him, like the reactions of him in real life. So they're planning to do another Fight the Viewer session. I don't know when, but sponsors versus viewers is kind of, I guess, a first time ever thing. I think it's cool. Everything Ting does, I actually find quite cool, and I like that they're very open and willing to do silly things. But the Colossus being out is interesting for a couple of different reasons. The number one being, it just hasn't been around in a very long time, and we've been seeing some players bring this back. It's still a hard unit to utilize though because it is so expensive and alone very fragile.
Yeah, especially early game, and that is the really scary part. Now, if you can get to 3 Colossus about there and enough of fodder on the ground, they actually are becoming almost a counter to Liberators, which is what the number one problem was the last time they played Dusk Towers, was that the Liberators were sieging up his 4th so consistently and so well. So you can see here with the damage decrease, they also just, I mean, the Concave was good and the splits were good for MaSa. Even a Heart of the Swarm Colossus was going to have trouble, but especially Legacy of the Void Colossus. So HuK actually has to disengage. Like, this is 16 Marines. Like, a Colossus is supposed to be very good against this.
No, yeah. The nerf bat really hit hard in Legacy, and they still haven't felt the recovery yet.
Oh, goes to the Forge. Nice. Sees a high-profile target, goes for it. Is going to be able to get the Colossus maybe too. Yep.
This is getting out of control. Where's that Warp Prism when you need it? It's coming back home with that Disruptor, but it's so far away. It could have, would have, should have picked up and saved the Colossus. MaSa is getting some very serious damage though with this. Not slaughtering probes, but denying upgrades and just picking off a Colossus early on so it doesn't snowball so quickly.
Yeah. This sort of feels awfully useless when you just pick up in the medevac, and this is damage on top of MaSa, of course, getting his own 3rd base. Now, it's not saturated yet, so it's a little worrying, but his army supply is really nice, and he actually did tear down HuK's probe just the tiniest bit. So it's not perfect, as HuK's trying to get back to, I think, 65 might be ideal.
By the way, thank you, Ivor Ping, for the 4-month resub. And the reason this thing's so tiny is because we're streaming at 1080p instead of 720 for once, guys. So I don't know. I didn't adjust. I also didn't mean to stream it at 1080 today. This is going to kill my data, like really hardcore. Still with this first drop. Drops off a Marauder, just being a little bit of a nuisance. Keeps a lot of HuK stalkers in the back. So as these medevacs come in, yeah, there's 2 Colossus, but could have sacrificed the kill one. Just wouldn't have been worth it.
Yeah, if they were alone without the Zealots, I think he would have gone for it, but... Now going into the main base, units are prepared. They're waiting, and it goes in with a weak medevac too. The drop time might just be getting to that point where it's kind of over. Okay, yeah, as autopilot.
Yeah.
As HuK now looks to be stabilized on 3 bases, but this is where hopefully MaSa has been getting a good macro behind this, and he is actually with the upgrades. Specifically, and most importantly, going to be 2-2 versus just the 1 of HuK when everything's said and done.
Well, there's a considerable amount of units out for MaSa, so with a good concave and the right positioning, like he could take on everything HuK has, like in a big engagement. But I like this out of HuK actually. The Warp Prism at home, it could shuffle and do a bit of micro and certainly be cool. But I think across the map, warping in some Adepts and trying to disrupt MaSa behind the lines would probably be the best use of it. And, oh, there's no concussor shells.
Oh yeah, he hasn't realized that either. Isn't gonna get it for this. There it goes. This fight, though.
There are Vikings and Marauders at home, though, so this Warp Prism's not doomed. It's kind of doomed to fail. In fact, the missile turret already almost kills it. Oh my god, the last shot! Sir, you little guy in there. I can't zoom in probably, but the dude in there, you deserve a raise.
Attacking in here, there is a Disruptor. That split would have been so good if the Disruptor had gone far enough, but this isn't all of MaSa's army, and HuK should recognize that. 3 medevacs into the main base.
Oh, it's going to get the
Robo. Robotics.
The Widowmine actually bros here too to make sure anything coming by would get picked off, but the detection will help deal with this. So
not really sniping it. There we go.
It was like a blunt force. Like he took a crowbar to it. He didn't take a sniper
Yeah,
rifle.
yeah.
There was no surgical removal. It was blunt.
Yeah. So MaSa now can bring his army that was, preparing, just making sure that a Warp Prism wouldn't kill him. He can take it, bring it forward. He has some Vikings with that too. They seem almost like they were purely for the
Colossus.
The War Prism at first, but he has gone up to 6. He's just not rallied.
Yeah, if he uses them, they can take out the Colossus. I mean, that's what Terran used to have to do. That was the only answer for Colossus for a time. Then people started figuring out this, like, was it Maru style, where you would just get, like, hella Marauders and everything on the ground, get a couple of Widow Mines.
Drop on top of it. Oh, it's so beautiful. It was the best.
That was actually probably my favorite shift.
Yeah, it was such a fun way to play. Very difficult to actually pull off, of course. MaSa does not exactly take the fight, but doesn't take a bad fight either. He maybe could have gotten a better concave, but the supplies do say that he took a better fight.
Let's also not forget that MaSa is expanding still. HuK trying to keep up with this. I mean, I look at this, and the biggest thing I look at for HuK is his upgrades are a little bit behind. His army supply, well, not bad. He has very few units, so losing any one of them becomes very crucial to that army supply. But I think if MaSa ends up playing a little bit scared, he plays back. As we saw, the drops are starting to fall off, so if he starts to go for like this death ball style of Terran, you know, that involves a lot of Liberators, not Vikings. And while he's got a ton of Vikings, these aren't going to help at all versus these Stalkers.
That's true. I do still like that MaSa, you know, HuK went for Colossus so early. MaSa got eyes on that and went for Vikings, you know, instead of where you're usually starting Liberators and you're like, oh, wait a minute, and then you just continue making Liberators. I do like that he hasn't even tried going to Liberators. Back before we saw, like, Night End, the first example of Colossus being good against Liberators, it seemed like Liberators would just provide the same thing a Viking would. They could hit the Colossus in air or ground form. But then they actually started getting countered by the Colossus, and the mass Vikings is going to work a lot better, just like they did in Heart of the Swarm. Storm is almost done.
Oh, there we go. Blankets the army. We can see this much for MaSa. Like, a lot of his games, he has been eating storm damage pretty heavily.
Yeah. There's only 4 medevacs, and they're pretty high on energy, but they do need time to go ahead and heal up most of these Marauders, which are like one shot away from death. With
the Colossus having to be fully removed, we do have all the Vikings on the ground just kind of chilling. But their damage is not bad, but their health is not good, so they're not helping too much here. The Immortal can't get involved with the fight, and that's the one thing that would really tear through this army. So the Marauders beating a lot of these Stalkers. Army supply for HuK is starting to just disappear. Not a lot left to fall back on, and MaSa, he's so close to winning this game.
Yes, he is. He's rallying forward on Dusk, which takes a very long time, but it's just going to be just enough. All these Widow Mines, by the way, are going unkilled, as I don't think there's an observer, although they're getting closer to the cannon. The Militia Corps died to one earlier on, so no Photon Overcharge. This is it. MaSa is going to 3-0 HuK in revenge.
The ultimate revenge. Right at the end of the group. So we weren't kidding. That group curse is too ridiculous. So is Terran, apparently. LOL. GG. MaSa, ladies and gentlemen, will join Hydra as both of them advance through the North American group. But let's talk